Number 6. 957 years in prison. That was the sentence given to our next killer. What could he have done to deserve almost 1,000 years behind bars? Well, let's talk about the life and crimes of Jeffrey Dahmer. He was born on May 21, 1960 in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Dahmer dropped out of college and from the army and lived with different family members until he was kicked out by his grandmother. He then settled in his apartment in Milwaukee, where he performed most of his horrors. Jeffrey Dahmer made his first kill in 1978, where he was just 18 years old, and in 1987, his second kill was made. And for the next 5 years, he would be taking the lives of 15 more young non-white men. 3 years before his arrest in 1991, Dahmer was convicted of drugging and sexually molesting a young teenager. But after a year, he was released and continued his killing binge. He would have continued his horrors until an African American, his supposedly next victim, escaped and flagged down police and led them to his apartment. When the police entered his place, they were met with photos of mutilated bodies, severed heads, and body parts and even genitalia strewn across the place. He also had a tub full of acid that he used to melt and dispose of the bodies of his victims. Other than killing, Jeffrey Dahmer also confessed to performing cannibalism and necrophilia to his victims. His confession during his trial opened the eyes of the people to another gruesome side of serial killers. He was not able to atone for his sins in prison for a long time, since he was killed by a fellow inmate just 2 years from being imprisoned, and he died in 1994. Number 7. For travelers, an inn or hotel serves as a refuge away from home. It provides shelter and comfort and even food. But this hotel took it on another level, because once you check in, you can never check out. And yes, we are talking about the H.H. Holmes Hotel, or famously known as Murder Castle. This was owned by an American pharmacist and insurance scammer, Herman Webster Mudgett, or better known as H.H. Holmes. Before he was known for his murder castle, Holmes already lived a life of crime, from insurance scams, horse theft, fake marriages, check forging, and many more. He then moved to Illinois in advance of the 1893 Chicago World's Fair. There, he built his 3-story murder castle. Holmes designed and planned this hotel by himself. He customized it to make his killings easier for him. The upper floors accommodated his living quarters and many small rooms. Some rooms were equipped with peepholes, gas lines, trapdoors, and chutes that enabled him to move the bodies to his basement so he could dispose of them through burning or through other ways. The rooms were soundproofed. There were ladders and hallways that led to dead ends. In his basement, he had a surgical table on where he would perform gruesome experiments on the bodies. Holmes led many victims to his murder castle, mostly young women who he made relationships with, or men whom he offered jobs at the hotel. He would then asphyxiate them with poisoned gas. If he did not use their bodies for experiments, he would either dispose it or skin it and sell it to medical schools. On November 1894, Holmes was finally caught by the police. This is because a fellow scammer turned him in for falling short on a financial agreement that they had. The exact number of people he killed was never determined since he gave numerous stories to the police, but it was estimated to range from 20 to 200. Holmes was hanged on May 7, 1896. Number 8. I don't feel guilty for anything. I feel sorry for the people who feel guilt. What's one less person on the face of the earth anyway? We serial killers are your sons. We are your husbands. And we are everywhere. And there will be more of your children dead tomorrow. These were the words of the notorious serial killer Ted Bundy in an interview just days before his execution. Ted Bundy was born on November 24, 1946. His childhood was already dysfunctional. His grandparents humiliated his mother for his illegitimate birth. After his mother gave birth in a home for unwed mothers, Ted was brought to his grandparents and was raised as their adopted son, and his mother was his sister. His mother then married his stepfather, but Bundy did not get along with him too. At a young age, he has shown interest in knives. He was smart, but not good with people. And growing up, his darker side started to emerge. He would steal without second thoughts and would creepily peer in other people's windows. Bundy went on to university and graduated from the University of Washington. After that, Bundy started his long and agonizing murder spree. His first victim was from Seattle in 1966. Then Bundy moved his killing ground to different locations such as Washington, Oregon, Utah, and Colorado, and even across the Pacific Northwest, and in Florida too. Bundy was handsome, educated, and charming, and was focused on victimizing attractive women. He would lure them by pretending to be injured or asking for their help. He would often sexually assault the women before beating them to death. Bundy was caught when he was pulled over the police, and in his car they found burglary tools like a mask, rope, a crowbar, and handcuffs. Upon digging further, the police were able to link him to more heinous crimes. Bundy escaped prison twice, and on his second escape, he broke into a sorority house, attacked 4 female residents, killing 2 of them. And on February 9, Bundy kidnapped, raped, and murdered his final victim, who is a 12-year-old Kimberly Leach. Bundy was then caught and had the first ever murder case trial televised. He was convicted and has spent 9 years on death row and was finally executed in 1989 by electric chair. Though Bundy confessed to killing 36 women, it is estimated to be about 100. So till today, the number of Bundy's victims remain unknown. Number 9. 128 years since this killer's case have been closed. Almost 100 possible suspects have been proposed. But up until this day, no one knows his identity, no arrest has been made, and justice for the victims has never been served. We call him as Jack the Ripper. In 1888, the people in London's Whitechapel district had challenging lives due to poor living conditions. Every day was a struggle, but things only got worse when an unidentified madman lured victims, mostly prostitutes, in dark areas of the streets, and slit their throats. The Ripper did not stop there though. He or she would then disembowel their bodies and remove their organs one by one. The way he or she mutilated the bodies showed that the killer had knowledge on human anatomy, so some speculated that Jack the Ripper was either a butcher or a doctor. That summer and fall, 5 victims fell into his or her hands. The killer taunted Scotland Yard, which is now known as the London Metropolitan Police Service, by sending them letters about the murders he did and the murders that were to come. Without modern techniques that we have now, the police were at loss. But then, just like a phantom, Jack the Ripper disappeared and never to be heard again. His case was finally closed in 1892, and up until this day, no one knows who Jack the Ripper is. Number 10. How would you feel if someone who has raped and murdered 110 to 300 girls was captured, but then released from prison because of good behavior? That was the disgusting case of the monster of the Andes, or Pedro Lopez. Pedro Lopez was born on October 8, 1948 in Colombia. He was the son of Behilda Lopez and Medardo Reyes. His father was married to a different wife and was shot and killed 6 months before Lopez was born. His mother was a prostitute, and Lopez would see his mother making out with her clients. When he was 8 years old, he molested his younger sister, so his mother kicked him out. He was then lured in by a pedophile through promises of hot food and shelter, but only to be sodomized repeatedly for days. After years of surviving on the streets, Lopez was adopted by an American family and was sent to school, only for him to run away again after he was molested by a teacher. Lopez then began stealing cars and selling their parts for money. He was then caught for theft in 1969, and just 2 days into his 7-year sentence, he was brutally gang raped by 3 inmates. This deeply traumatized him, and Lopez made his revenge by killing all of these inmates. Police considered it as self-defense, and only 2 years was added to his sentence. With his release in 1978, Lopez began abducting, raping, and murdering young girls whose ages ranged from 8 to 12, on an average of 3 girls a week. He was caught trying to abduct a 9-year-old girl from a tribe, but was rescued by a missionary and was set free on the border of Colombia and Ecuador. He continued his killing spree in Ecuador, but the police did not give it much notice, thinking it was just slavery and prostitution rings abducting the children. Lopez then tried to abduct 12-year-old Maria Poveda, but was caught by the girl's mother. Lopez was arrested, and through a lot of discussions and convincing, Lopez finally confessed his brutal crimes and led the police to the bodies of his victims. A total of 53 bodies were recovered in just one area alone. Some were lost due to floods and scavenging animals. Lopez claimed he had killed over 200 in Ecuador and some tens in Peru. Lopez also mentioned that when the bodies of his victims were not fully decomposed, he would sometimes have tea parties with them. Though his estimated body count by the police is 110, some believe it was around 300. He was sentenced to 16 years in prison, but was released on August 31, 1994, because of good behavior. He is still at large, and his current whereabouts until today are unknown. Hi everybody, it's your creepy older sister here. Thank you so much for listening. You have no idea how I appreciate this. Since the channel is fairly new though, I would like to hear some comments or suggestions from you so that I can continuously improve my coming videos. If you want to know what the name of the channel means, you can check out the description below. If you want to send me stories to read, you can also check out my email and send it there. It's also in the description. If you enjoyed this video, please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so we can grow together here, and I'll definitely try my best to upload more each week. Once again, thank you very, very much. And to all the creepy experiences, bad vibes, scary people, and paranormal encounters, together we say to them, Tabi-tabi po.